Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak-to-Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
The song that you are currently listening to is called Three Systems Down. It's performed by Electric Giz. And this performance, along with a performance of Dakota Rain, is available on Michael Lenssen's or Mickey Lenny's SoundCloud, which you can access along with his Instagram and YouTube by going to his website, mickeylenny.com. Electric Giz is a collaborative group between Michael Lenssen and Greg Gisbert. Hello there, everybody. My name is Jamie Lammers, and welcome to Music of the Mountains, Where to Be and What to See, brought to you by the Mountaineer Podcast. I promised that this slot would actually be taken up by a community-centered episode of the podcast, and that episode is still coming out. I just didn't get it done quite in the timeline that I hoped I would. So I will be getting that episode out and another community-centered episode of the podcast later this week. For now, though, let's get into this week's Music of the Mountains, which actually serves as an artist spotlight. I conducted this interview all the way back in June 2023, June 26th to be precise. I wrote an article before realizing that the upcoming edition that I was supposed to publish that article in was an It's Your Turn edition. So somebody else ended up writing the Music of the Mountains column that week, and I didn't have a chance to get that column in the Mountaineer newspaper until now. So I am very thrilled to finally bring you this artist spotlight. But before we get into the interview, some preliminary announcements. First, if you haven't subscribed to The Mountaineer yet and you're looking for something new to subscribe to in 2025, then be sure to head to the mtnear.com and click on the subscribe button in the top right corner of our homepage. If you subscribe, you'll get full access to our digital archive and scanned copies of the physical newspaper. And you can even choose to receive a physical subscription in your mailbox or send it to the mailbox of someone that you love. Second, if you're looking to advertise in the newspaper or in the podcast, be sure to head to the mtnear.com/advertise to see what options are available. If you're interested in asking somebody questions directly, then be sure to email marketing@themountaineer.com or sales@themountaineer.com or call 720-960-2900. And finally, I am thrilled to announce that I am partnering with the Jamestown Mercantile, located at 108 Main Street in Jamestown, to bring you the first ever Mountain New Play Festival. We're accepting submissions for abstracts of plays until March 15th. So if you're interested in writing a play, directing a play, or acting in a play around 15 minutes, then be sure to email us your interest or your play abstract at jamestownmercantilecafe@gmail.com. All right, now let's get into this week's Music of the Mountains episode. Our guest this week, do you mind introducing yourself real quick?
Yeah, my name is Michael Lenssen. My artist name as of recently is Mickey Lenny, because nobody could spell my last name, and I finally gave up. And I'm a multi-instrumentalist and composer based in Denver. I mostly play cornet, trumpet, and then a bunch of different synthesizer-based instruments, including the electric wind instrument.
And at the time of this interview, you were actually about to perform at Not a Red Root Brewing Company.
Yeah, I have a bunch of stuff coming up, including Not at Root on the 7th.
So, Michael, how did you get started in music in the first place?
So my older brother, who's 2 years older than me, started playing violin when he was about 5, and I immediately wanted to play. About a year and a half, 2 years later, my parents were like, all right, fine, you can play too. So I played violin for about 10 years, and towards the end of that, I really started getting into improvisational music, which was mostly jazz at that point, but some other stuff, some Brazilian music too. And that was around the time I started playing trumpet in 5th grade, actually with Boulder Valley School District. And yeah, I stuck with that all through high school, stopped playing violin right around 14, and I ended up going to the University of Miami down in Florida for a jazz trumpet degree. And there were a few local musicians that really inspired me. I grew up a couple blocks away from Paul Erhard, who was the double bass professor at CU and was part of this educational program called the Colorado Conservatory for the Jazz Arts, or CCJA, and I did their programs starting the end of middle school all the way up through high school, and that really led me to my first ever recording session, lots of performance opportunities, formed a lot of relationships that are really huge in my career even today.
And are there any artists in general that have inspired you over the years?
Well, one, I actually just got off the phone with this absolutely incredible trumpet player, Greg Gisbert. He joined Buddy Rich's big band at age 19, I believe. He's a Colorado legend. He was my hero when I was a kid, and now we're working on music together. And I got to go be part of a recording session out in New York with this woman, Maria Schneider, that ended up winning a whole bunch of awards a few years ago, including a couple Grammys, which was wild. So yeah, Greg Gisbert's, that was through CCJ, but he's kind of always been a hero of mine. Besides that, I can't necessarily think of any specific people right now. Well, yeah, let's see. I finished music school in 2015, and within a year I had joined a local front range band called Amora Mora that quickly, we started playing a whole bunch of gigs, sold out the Fox in Boulder in our first headlining show there, bought an RV, went on the road a lot, and I spent 3 years touring quite a bit around the United States. And at some point in there, I also started teaching at Justice High School out in Lafayette, which is a charter school for disadvantaged youth and kids who have been in juvie. And I still teach there. And that's been really powerful as far as feeling like I'm doing something for the world and not just, obviously playing music is very important, but it's much more on the mentorship, teaching emotional coping skills, right, and encouraging kids to be creative, which I don't think is enough of a part of any school experience. So I'm no longer playing with them more. I haven't been for about 4 years now, but that was kind of the performing jumping off point, and I have a pretty solid balance of performing and teaching these days.
By the way, I've interviewed Greg Gisbert for this very podcast. I interviewed him and other acts performing in the Netherlands Jazz and Wine Festival 2024 in August of 2024. So be sure to check out that local event spotlight episode of the Mountaineer Podcast to hear more from Greg. Along with that, Greg and Michael were both involved on Maria Schneider's Grammy Award-winning album, Data Lords. The album was released in 2020. All of the tracks were written by Maria Schneider. Greg Gisbert provided trumpet and flugelhorn, and Michael Lenssen served as the trumpet electronics programmer on the track CQ, Is Anybody There? Ultimately, the album won the Grammy Award for Best Large Jazz Ensemble Album in 2021, and the track Sputnik won the Grammy Award for Best Instrumental Composition. Along with that, the album was selected by the Le Grand Prix de l'Académie du Jazz as the Best Record of the Year, and the album as a whole was a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize for Music. But in general for you, Michael, what's been fun for you about performing, particularly performing live?
I think the vulnerability is my favorite thing. It's not necessarily something that I get nervous about at this point because I've performed so much, but there's still an element of you just don't know what's going to happen. And there's no, I'm just going to hit delete and record another take like there is when you're in the studio. And that's, as an improviser too. If something unexpected happens, that really can make the show something incredibly special. special, or take the performance in a direction that you never would have taken it in if it wasn't in this live situation. And a lot of that also just comes back to the people in the community around it. And that's part of the reason I love Knotted Root so much. Even if I only know the bartender and Chris, and I only know a few people there, it still feels like I'm part of the community.
And is there anything that you hope audience members will be able to take away from your performances when they come to see you?
You know, I think my goal as a musician, as a performer, is just to help people feel. And I think that's why, even with the dawn of the AI age, like, art's not going anywhere, because we all need help actually feeling our feelings sometimes. And I know almost all of my deepest experiences have been in the presence of some form of art. Maybe I didn't even realize I was anxious all week until somebody sang a song about it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I guess I'm crying right now, or I guess I'm laughing right now, or whatever it is. You know, it kind of turns off the thinking, judging part of our brains. We're working on booking some shows right now. He's been in New York performing, and he's been quite busy, and I've been busy with other stuff. So we've only played one show, and we haven't finalized any recordings. It's still quite new. But yeah, we'll definitely, if people want to stay in touch, my website is mickeylenny.com. It will all be on there for when it does happen. Hopefully some shows in October, I think, is what we're talking to a few venues in Denver about right now.
Well, are there any other big things about your performing or anything else going on that you want to add?
I mean, I think the big thing that I haven't talked about at all yet today, really, and that kind of is the connecting thread between everything I do, is really finding a mix of electronic and acoustic sounds, and one foot in the past, one foot in the future kind of thing, where how does a trumpet mix with a bunch of synthesized electronic music? And that's the project with the hero of mine. It's called Electric Giz, because he's kind of a old school jazz guy, and he'll tell me stories about like hanging out with Frank Sinatra or Dizzy Gillespie, but he doesn't want to just do that at this point in his life. He's like, no, I want to do new things. Yeah, I guess the other, since this is a Netherlands related gig, I used to teach ski lessons at Eldora when I was in high school, so that's a local connection kind of thing. And that's part of the reason I love getting back up there is, yeah, I've been going to Eldora since I was 4, I think. So
in that case, I think those are the big questions I have on my end.
Cool. Well, yeah, thanks again, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Michael, for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. Michael has not played in the Peak to Peak area since the Knotted Root Brewing Company show on July 7th, 2023, starting at 5 p.m. However, you can still keep up with all of his musical efforts by heading to his website at Mickey Lenny, that's MICKEYLENNY.com, where you can also check out his Instagram, SoundCloud, and YouTube. If you're interested in the Music of the Mountains article contributed by another writer that was included in that It's Your Turn edition of the Mountaineer newspaper, then be sure to read the article, Onda to Play Roy's Last Shot to Kick Off 4th of July Weekend by Kevin Mers, which was published in the June 29th, 2023 edition of the Mountaineer. And now for this week's Music Mentions. I wasn't able to promote the Busey Brews show for Eric Richard Stone that's occurring today, Sunday, March 2nd at 2 p.m. However, if you head over to 70 East 1st Street in Nederland on Friday, March 7th, starting at 4 p.m., you'll be able to check out the First Fridays on Deck series with Riverspell alongside a Mardi Gras celebration. Head to the Coal Creek Canyon Improvement Association, located at 31528 Highway 72 in Coal Creek, on Friday, March 7th, starting at 7 p.m. for an open mic night. If you want to sign up to perform in the open mic, be sure to head to their website at coalcreekcanyon.org. I was unable to promote the Eldora Mountain Resort shows on Saturday, March 1st at 9 a.m. for Peter, on Saturday, March 1st at noon for Hunter Stone, on Sunday, March 2nd at 9 a.m. for Cal Huss, and on Sunday, March 2nd at noon for Jason Hicks. However, there are still plenty of performances coming up at Eldora Mountain Resort, located primarily at 2861 Eldora Ski Road in Nederland. So be sure to head over there on Wednesday, March 5th, starting at noon, to see AMAC performing in Timbers Tap House or the West Wing Deck, depending on the weather. Also be sure to head over there this weekend for the Subaru Winterfest. On Friday, March 7th, starting at 12:30 p.m., Iz Kali will be performing for the Winterfest. On Saturday, March 8th, starting at 12:30 p.m., the Sweet Lilies will be performing for the Winterfest. On Saturday, March 8th, starting at 2:30 p.m., Shadowgrass will be performing for the Winterfest. And on Sunday, March 9th, starting at 12:30 p.m., Drunken Hearts will be performing for the Winterfest. Head to the Gold Hill General Store located at 531 Main Street in Gold Hill on Saturday, March 8th, starting at 7 p.m. to see Dwayne Hagens performing live. Head to Howlin' Wind Brewing and Blending located at 51A Main Street in Rollinsville on Friday, March 7th, starting at 6 p.m. to see Half Pelican performing live, and on Saturday, March 8th, starting at 5 p.m. to see Fast Floyd performing live. Head to the Jamestown Mercantile, located at 108 Main Street in Jamestown on Wednesday, March 5th, starting at 5 p.m. for an open mic night. Knotted Root Brewing Company, located at 250 North Caribou Street in Netherland, hosts regular music nights. Every Wednesday at 6 p.m., they host an open mic night. Every Friday at 7:30 p.m., they host a DJ night. Every second Friday of the month at 7:30 p.m., they host reggae DJ nights. And every Sunday at 5 p.m., they host Jazz Sundays. Head to the Caribou Room, located at 55 Indian Peaks Drive in Netherland on Friday, March 7th for the event Caribou Grass, featuring performances from No Go Gillbillies, Bear Hat, and Tonewood String Band. Doors open and dinner starts at 7 p.m. and the show starts at 8 p.m. If you want to get your tickets in advance, then be sure to head to thecaribouroom.com. And finally, pick your preference. If you want to head over to the Very Nice Brewing Company location in Gilpin County, then be sure to head over to 180 Jankowski Drive in Black Hawk on Friday, March 7th for two events. At 5 p.m., Windy Pines will be performing live, and right after, at 6 p.m., they'll be hosting their first Friday open mic night. Finally, on Saturday, March 8th, starting at 5 p.m., Mountain Reverb will be performing live. If you're interested in heading to Netherland, then be sure to head over to the Very Nice Brewing Company location at 20 East Lakeview Drive, number 112, in the Caribou Village Shopping Center on Friday, March 7th, starting at 6 p.m. to see the DeVale Band performing live, and on Saturday, March 8th, starting at 5 p.m., to see Eric Stone performing live. Did we miss you or any of your performances? Do you want to submit your music listing in the Peak to Peak area? Do you have updates to your business or to your performances? Please call 303-810-5409 or email info@themountaineer.com to be included in the next print edition or the next podcast of The Mountain Ear. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to this week's Music of the Mountains, Where to Be and What to See, brought to you by the Mountain Ear Podcast. I'm still trying to figure out the logistics of which episodes are coming out on which date, but there will be plenty of community-centered episodes of the Mountain Ear Podcast coming out very soon, including our regular segment from correspondent Marianne Rosen. In the meantime, if you want to share this episode or others around with whoever you see fit, then be sure to head to the mtnear.com and scroll near to the bottom, or head to our podcast's main hub at the mtnearpodcast.buzzsprout.com to see a full archive of all of our episodes. If you're interested in being involved in the podcast in any way, shape, or form, then email me at media@themountaineer.com and we'll get something sorted for you. I will see you guys very, very soon with the next episode of the Mountain Ear Podcast. Have a great rest of your day! The song that you are currently listening to is called Dakota Rain, and it's performed by Electric Giz, which features jazz artists Greg Gisbert and Michael Lenssen. You can listen to this full performance of Dakota Rain, as well as a full performance of Three Systems Down, by heading to Michael's SoundCloud page, Mickey Lenny, which you can find as well as his YouTube and Instagram by going to his website at mickeylenny.com.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak to Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.